Well, our big focus, US President Donald Trump has said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi would probably be visiting the White House for a meeting with him in February. The US President told reporters aboard the Air Force One on his way back to join Pace Andrews from Florida. In fact, Donald Trump was responding to a question on the phone call he had with our Prime Minister in the morning. But Trump's last foreign trip, as you know, as president, was to India during his first term. We are waiting to see how Trump 2.0 and his administration unfolds as he takes on his second presidential term. Mohammad Ghazali has been tracking all the finer details for us. He joins us live at the moment. Ghazali, the US president has said that Prime Minister Modi will visit the United States in February.
Yeah, so things are moving quite fast. Yesterday, Prime Minister spoke to Mr. Trump. They both stressed upon the collaboration between the two countries and how it will be beneficial for the people of both the countries. And we all know that how the bonhomie between the two leaders is well known since 2019 when Prime Minister visited the United States. We had this Howdy Modi event, and then and the very next year in 2020, President Trump was here in Ahmedabad in Gujarat, and the world saw both leaders discussing serious issues concerning the challenges ahead for both the countries. And now what we're being told that Mr. Trump has already spoken to the reporters while on board on Air Force One, saying that he spoke to Mr. Modi, and very soon, very likely that the very next month in Feb, Prime Minister Modi is expected to meet Mr. Trump after visiting White House. And what we're also being told that perhaps since Mr. Modi is also going to attend an AI summit in Paris, which is scheduled between 10th and 11th Feb, so perhaps after that, the Prime Minister may fly to United States to meet Donald Trump. And this is going to be a very significant meeting because he will be one among the very few world leaders to meet Mr. Trump after he has assumed office as the President of the United States. And we all know that both India and United States have been engaging for the last many years on different issues, and how US values India as a partner, because Mr. Trump or the White House readout on the conversation both the leaders had yesterday said that US President Mr. Trump stressed the importance of India buying more defense procurement or having more defense procurement from United States, and he stressed upon the importance of India being one of the partners in Quad, or some as it is very evident that how immediately after assuming the office on January 20th, the very next day, United States administration held a meeting of the Quad's foreign ministers meet, in which India's external affairs minister Dr. Jaishankar was present. So Asia-Pacific region, India being one of the partners, these are very concerning issues which the Trump administration holds very highly, and that is why we are also expecting that Mr. Modi, our Prime Minister, will be visiting United States in next month to meet Mr. Trump.
As always, Ghazali, thank you so much for taking us through the latest details coming in and contextualizing the latest information for us. For further clarity, we also have with us on the broadcast Jayant Krishna. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on NDTV. Mr. Krishna, how much do you think this personal rapport between Trump and Modi impacts the broader strategic partnership, especially with both the leaders emphasizing the Indo-Pacific Quad?
See, absolutely. I think in the first term, they had a fantastic rapport and a great deal of friendship. Some people say that that friendship has been slightly eroded because, when Prime Minister Modi was in the US and President Trump wanted to meet him during the electoral campaign, perhaps that meeting didn't happen. So, but it's anybody's guess. But I'm sure the two will be able to bounce back very soon, for one simple reason, because they are strategic partners. I mean, there's so much of mutuality between US and India, in more ways than one. US happens to be the largest investor in India in terms of foreign direct investment. US is India's largest trading partner. Even India is the seventh largest trading partner for the US. I think, and more importantly, given our position geopolitically on the geographical map, I think India is a very, very important partner for the US, especially vis-a-vis China. The undercurrents, the geopolitical undercurrents that China has been sending in the last decade or so, I think it's very, very important. And this, as I said, there's a lot of mutuality in the relationship. And I think the personal rapport would go a long way in rebuilding the entire, relationship and taking it to a more strategic level. And, and extending to areas like defense, like energy, deal whole lot of critical technologies.
But sir, could this visit actually set a new precedent for collaboration? Or are we looking at a continuation of existing policies?
So I think it will be both. It will be, with the prime ministers and presidents change, but the essential parameters that govern a bilateral relationship, they do not change. So I think there'll be a continuity for sure, but there'll also be changes because now you have a resurgent President Trump in his second term. And also, I think the America first, on the trade issues, the import duty issues, I think those have become even more, vocal. Those have become more prominent now in this term. Even on the immigration issue, the way he has said that all the illegal immigrants to the U.S. will be sent back no matter which country they came from. And so I think he's more assertive. I would say even more aggressive. So I think there'll be a combination of the old ties continuing, becoming more deep, perhaps deeper and more strategic in some ways. And there'll always be some newer nuances. I think there's always a give and take in a relationship between two countries. You give on some, you take some. Yeah. I think it's essentially negotiation because Parmeshwar, in today's day and age, countries do not necessarily get what they deserve. They get what they negotiate. I think it's very, very important. And Prime Minister Modi going to the US in February itself, in less than a month's time from now, I think that's a good signal. And beyond the posturing which would have happened when External Affairs Minister Jaishankar would have met Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, I think this meeting would go a long way in rebuilding the ties and strengthening the ties further. And going towards a greater, more expanded horizons.
Well, many of the states would argue that you cannot ignore Trump's transactional behavior. But just let's pay attention to the immigration aspect. Trump's emphasis on immigration, particularly the return of Indian nationals, it cannot be ignored in the context of his broader policies, I'm sure. But do you think Prime Minister Modi's government will take a firm stance on this? Or is it likely to be framed as a diplomatic negotiation rather than a domestic issue?
So yes, since you're talking about immigration, let's break it into two categories. One is the illegal immigration. Yes. And estimates suggest that there are almost 16 to 18,000 illegal Indians, migrants to the US from India. They would have gone perhaps through the Canada route or from the Mexico route, whatever be the case. Right. External Affairs Minister has said loud and clear that if US wants to send them back, we will take them back. And India does not support illegal immigration to any country, leave aside the US. So there's no problem on that front. If the US wants to send those people back, first of all, they never went there with any patronage or any support from India as a country at all. They went there illegally, and they have to come back if they need to come back. I think that's very clear. The second area is for H-1B visa. Yes, I think that's very important. And I see some, dilution in President Trump's stand on that during the electoral campaign. He mentioned that it will be scrapped. Then after coming back to power, he also said it's not all that bad a thing at all. And let's understand one thing. By giving more visas to Indians, US doesn't do any favor to India. As a matter of fact, we address their skills deficit to a very large extent, and scientists, doctors, techies going from India and working in the US, I think we make their country globally competitive for sure.
So, but with China's growing influence, especially as far as this region is concerned, how much of the strengthening of this US-India relationship do you think is rooted in countering Chinese ambitions?
Some people say that yes, deepening of this relationship also has, implications on China, and given our location on the world map, yes. I think, India is far too strategic for the US, since a large border of India, India shares with China. So I think surely that's the fact. But, let's also look at the foreign secretary, Indian foreign secretary had a meeting with his Chinese counterpart recently, and lots of issues are getting resolved. So as of date, no matter how US sees India vis-a-vis China, I think it's India's relationship with China also improves, not only geopolitically, border issues, but also, economic issues. I mean, this very dream of India to look for becoming a manufacturing country, major manufacturing economy, will not be fulfilled unless we are integrated with China's manufacturing supply chains also, which is not the case. I mean, last year's economic survey of the country also mentioned that there is a need for a greater economic integration of India with that of China. I think so. I think both have to go hand in hand, our relationship with the US and our relationship with the China. And, whether, coming back to your question, whether US sees India as a neighbor to China and therefore, settling their scores with China, I think it's for the US to comment, not for us. But if that be the case, I think to my mind, in today's day and age, beyond geopolitics, economy is very, very important. Economic ties are very, very important. And if those can be tackled well, I would say geopolitical posturing almost falls in line.
Right. So looking ahead, sir, could India's strategic partnership with the US under Mr. Modi become more dynamic than just a counterbalance to China's, particularly in areas like economic cooperation, tech and defense?
I would trust so, because whatever you may see some improvement in relationship between India and China, but there continues to be a trust deficit between China and India. I think, and that how long it takes for that to be bridged completely is anybody's guess. So I would believe that, if you compare the two, the relationship between US and China, US and India is going to be far more important. Let's look at some of our dreams. Let's look at, the jet engine deal between GE and HAL. I think it's very, very important to ensure that it's not just a collaboration, but it's a real technology transfer that happens, And India gets into, this space and import substitution happens. And, there is our manufacturing ambition gets served. Semiconductor. Now, this is a revolution which we missed a few decades back when our economy was globalized in the year 1991.
Right.
For some reasons it didn't happen. Now India is nurturing this dream. There is a semiconductor mission set up by Government of India, and I believe no tangible headway is possible unless there is a greater collaboration between India and the US on semiconductor. So I think and many other critical technology, quantum and any artificial intelligence, whatever you look at, I think India stands to gain more by collaborating with China on these critical technologies. On manufacturing, I would say that a greater collaboration with China would be helpful. So I think we have to maintain that delicate equilibrium.
Well, Mr. Krishna, as always, thank you so much for joining us with your views. Really appreciate your time. In fact, we also spoke to Dr. Harsh Shrinkla earlier on NDTV. Here's what he told us.
This conversation that's taken place between the two leaders, what does it really mean for the Indo-Pacific?
Well, in general, I think what the call between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump signifies is that the India-US relationship is back on its high trajectory. And it really means a resumption of what Trump 1.0 represented. But at the same time, it reiterates a continuation of the gains made under the Biden presidency, specifically with regard to the Quad, the ICET, the Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technologies. So there's a level of continuity. Now, the Indo-Pacific you mentioned is interesting because there is also a specific reference to the Indo-Pacific. We do know that Trump attaches importance to a focus on the Indo-Pacific. It has long been felt that the distraction of the Russia-Ukraine war has really led to the focus on the Indo-Pacific being less than it should be. And now that there is an emphasis on ending conflicts in the Middle East, in Europe, and I imagine some of the discussions were on those lines as per the readouts, it will really mean that the Indo-Pacific will get renewed focus. This is in line with what India has wanted. And at the same time, I think this is also a part of Trump's overall policy to ensure that the focus on the Indo-Pacific does not get diluted.
Right, sir, you spoke about Trump, also we're talking about the 2.0 administration. Will we really see the same rapport and the same bonhomie that we had seen between the two leaders in his first administration?
Yes, I think, if you look at all the feedback, both from the Prime Minister's tweet and the White House press release, it's very clear that both the leaders have, renewed their close contact established through, the 4 years of the Trump presidency until 2021. And at the same time, I think there's a lot of emphasis on not only on the bilateral side, but the global side of things as well. And what is very clear is that Trump has invited Prime Minister Modi at some stage. This is clearly in the planning process, but to visit Washington, D.C. and the White House. And at the same time, they've acknowledged that the Quad summit needs to be in New Delhi or in India, because India is the next host of the Quad summit, which means that Trump at some stage later in the year will also come to Delhi. So this again resumes the high-level exchanges that the India-US relationship is based on and gets the momentum from these high-level exchanges. So there will be regular meetings, and 2025 already seems to have on its calendar two important meetings between the leaders of India and the United States, and that's very good news. And if you can read between the lines, there's also a lot of emphasis on a personal aspect. Prime Minister Modi refers to Trump as my friend, and he talks about renewing the relationship from where it was. And at the same time, I think the readout from Trump refers to a very productive, discussion, and obviously, a lot of emphasis not just on the bilateral, but regional and global issues for which I think both India and the United States are strategic partners and attach a lot of importance to discussions on a global perspective of things. So we go beyond the bilateral into the global.